Hey guys, it's coming over the series premiere of the new Fox show, The Mick, which is also the very first new series of 2017 and the first, show in 2017 in general. Guys, I really did not have much of an opinion with this show. I went into it not really knowing a lot. I watched some of the trailer. I thought it looked okay, but I still was interested because Fox has been making some good comedies lately. I actually like Son of Zorn. I didn't catch up with that show, but I liked what I saw of it, and this show, I definitely was interested in seeing how it really was going to be. I just didn't really know exactly what it fully was. And let me just say that overall, I thought this was a good start to the show. It definitely wasn't great. I felt like this show, it can be really good. It's just not great yet. And I'd even go as far as say this was probably one of the weaker episodes we're going to have of this show. This episode really didn't feel like a premiere. It felt like this was something where you could very well tell this was a pilot. You could tell that this was something where they were trying to make this so, they showed all the aspects of the show that's going to be, and I don't really think they did this as well as they could have, but let's get into it because I do want to talk about the show overall. Basically, the show is about this girl, Mackenzie, played by Kaitlin Olson. She is this very irresponsible grifter. She doesn't really have much of a life. She's a con woman and things like that. She doesn't even have much of a home. I mean, we see in the beginning she's at, like, a grocery store and, like, eating the cheese out of a, easy cheese can and things like that. And she's always been invited to her sister's formal parties with her very rich family, who is a complete opposite of Mackenzie completely, and she really wants nothing to do with them, but she figures that she's going to go just for this one chance. They think she's there just to borrow money, and basically before she knows it, she realizes that her sister, I can't think of what her name was. I really can't think of her name right now. They said it throughout the show. I just can't really think of what it was. But she's constantly, she is arrested for some sort of fraudulent claim or something like that, and basically tells her, okay, it's only temporary, just look after the kids, and now she has to look over all of, her niece and nephews, and that basically is the show after all. It's something you've definitely seen before, but let's just get in the show starting off with the cast. And that's the thing that I was looking forward to with the show, is that I thought the cast did look pretty good. I thought it looked like they had good chemistry overall. And I will say that I do think this cast is good in the show. I just don't really know if their characters are especially interesting. Now, Kaitlin Olson, by far, is the star of the show. I mean, she stole pretty much every scene she was in. I really do like her from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But I don't really think they fleshed out Mackenzie's character as well as they could have. Because as interesting as a character as Mackenzie is, we've seen this character so many times before. The deadbeat aunt, or that one relative that no one wants anything to do with. That kind of relative. There's always that one relative, and that's exactly what she is. I mean, this is someone who, like I said, she just comes to them if she wants to borrow money or something like that. That's exactly what she is to them, and, they're very neglectful towards her. They don't really want her there, and I just didn't really find her to be especially interesting because they didn't really focus on interesting stuff with her. There's a quick 5-minute scene of her and this guy, Jimmy, in a car, and then after that, we're immediately introduced to the family, and I really don't feel they fleshed her out as well as they could have. When you're doing a pilot, yes, obviously you want to showcase all the elements of the show, but you also want to try to flesh out the characters as well as possible, and this episode did not do that. I really did not feel we fleshed her out that well. It took maybe all of 5 minutes for her to get to the family, and I really didn't find her to be that compelling of a character. Now, Kaitlin Olson is quite funny in the role. I think she did a good job overall. I just really didn't find her character to be all that interesting. I have a feeling she's going to get more interesting as the show goes on. It's just right now, it was a very rocky start to what could be a really good character, but I just don't really know if she's going to really be anything that original. I kind of see her as that cliche, like I said, just like deadbeat, relative that no one really wants anything to do with. And then the kids in the show, here's my one thing with the show, is that usually, in these shows, especially, on Fox and ABC, they've been casting really interesting child actors, and That's not really the case with the show. The kids in the show I found to be very, very one note. I've seen all of these characters before. They didn't really do anything that original with them. Now, Sophia Black Delilah is obviously, it seems, is going to be the main one here of the three kids. Sabrina, who knows everything that Mackenzie's done. She's known Mackenzie's scheme. She knows her ways. She knows who she is, and she doesn't think of her as an aunt. She thinks of her, again, as that one relative that she wants nothing to do with. And I thought there was some funny banter between these two, but sometimes I thought Sabrina was just going way too far, honestly. I mean, by the ending of the episode, when she sent that owl after Mackenzie, I mean, she didn't really do anything that bad. If anything, she's trying to help the kids. Why are you trying to sabotage this for her? I just didn't really understand that. I get that she didn't like her, but why is she trying to, hurt her and things like that? It just didn't really make much sense to me, and I really did not like this character. I wanted to like her, but I just found her to be very, very mean-spirited. Doesn't really seem like there's anything interesting to her. There's not really any heart to her. I found her to be a shallow teenager who thinks that she's better than everyone else is, and I just really didn't like her. She's that prestigious, rich daughter that I just found to be really annoying. But at the same time, she's partying a lot, and I just didn't find anything interesting about her. She's a typical teenager. There's really nothing about her that interesting. And then Thomas Barbuska as Chip in the show, I think could be good. They had an interesting arc with him and a bully, but they didn't really do anything with it. They kind of just had him, face the bully and did what Mackenzie told him to do. And I felt like this would have been better if we maybe wait a couple episodes for him to confront that bully, or maybe saw him confront that bully. But no, they didn't do that. And I'm not entirely sure why, especially when the kids are going to be a big focus of the show. Why didn't they try to get us to know these kids more? They really didn't do anything interesting with his character. And to me, it just seemed like he was someone who wanted to impress a girl, so he tried to defend this bully, and it didn't really work at all. And I get that that's, what happened, but it's not really the most compelling story, and they really didn't do much with him, especially for our first episode. This was quite weak. Jack Stanton as Ben, the little boy, I thought he was cute. I definitely will say I thought he was cute overall. Just not much really to say, really. I don't really think there was much about him that I found that interesting. He's a cute kid, definitely, but I just don't really have much to say about him. And then the rest of the cast in the show, Carla Jamines plays their maid, Alba, and she's not bad. I thought that her interactions with Mackenzie were funny, but again, I've seen this before, her bonding with the maid, and the maid ending up in all these wacky situations. I just didn't really find it especially funny, and I didn't really find her to be that great. And then Susan Park is Liz, plays Liz in the show. Now, this is one of their mother's friends who is there to kind of ruin things for Mackenzie because she doesn't trust her whatsoever, and I just didn't really care about her either. And that's the thing, I just didn't really care about these characters in the way they wanted me to, and I think the actors could be really good. I just didn't really care about these characters right now. So now let's get to the writing and the directing, because that's really my main problem with the show. The directing with the show, I found to be very mean-spirited, honestly. I really did not like the directing of the show. A lot of the jokes, I'm not gonna lie, I laughed maybe half of the time. It took me a while to really fully laugh at the show. In fact, it wasn't until after the first 12 minutes that I was actually laughing. It took me a long time to actually find something funny. And I found a lot of the jokes to be very forced, very been there, done that, and just really not all that funny, I have to say. I really do not find a ton of stuff funny in this show. I thought the banter between Sophia and Mackenzie, while it was creative, there really wasn't much fire to it. You didn't feel that urgency. You didn't feel like these two really hated each other. And we don't know these two characters enough to really root for either of them. So there really wasn't a reason for me to really care much about the story, because I really could not find myself getting into the story. And there's so many things that we still don't know. Like, obviously, why was their mom arrested? There clearly is more going on there. She said they have to flee the country. What's that all about? There's definitely more going on with that. But I really wanted to try to flesh out, Mackenzie as a character, and they just didn't really take the time to do that. And I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, when you have a pilot, by definition, you probably should try to flesh out these characters, and they just didn't really do that with this show. And again, I'm not sure why they didn't. It just really kind of deterred the show for me, honestly. I wanted to like it, but that really did deter a lot of it, and it really did affect a lot of the show. In my opinion, at least, it definitely did. Cinematography here is fine, not really much to say about. Score's fine, whatever. I just found a lot of the writing to be very bland. The only elements I did like was towards the end when we had her almost arrested, but then Alba comes to save the day, literally assaults a police officer, which that in general should get them in jail. So now they've committed a crime, and it just seems like this is a show where they're gonna do terrible things and there's not really any sort of consequence. And if that's the kind of show we're dealing with, it's not a show that I'm especially interested. These are characters who I think should have consequences. This is a character you could make very interesting, but it seems like instead they're just gonna do these wacky things to get them into silly situations, and there's not really any consequence to it, and it just isn't going to be that especially compelling of a show if that's where they decide to go here. But overall, guys, this was a good first episode. I didn't hate this first episode by any means. I think this was an okay start, definitely. There's definitely a lot more room for potential. I think there definitely is stuff they can do to make this show more interesting. And there were some things I found kind of funny, definitely. Like, there were some jokes towards the end that I thought were funny and things like that. Like Mackenzie freaking out about the owl, or that conversation towards the end. I thought there were definitely some funny things there. There just wasn't enough to really hook me in. I most likely am going to continue watching the show, but in general, I am going to give this first episode of The Mick, which is the very first time we'll ever do this. As you guys know, I will be rating every episode for episode reviews I do, and that, of course, is going to be a 3.5 out of 5 or a B minus. Not at all a bad premiere. I don't think this was a bad start. I just felt they didn't really set up anything that compelling. I've seen the show many times before. I think the actors here can be really, really great. It's just they didn't really give them a ton to work with. They didn't really make me like any of the characters. I like some of the humor. I think there are places to go with this story. I'm still on board with it, but for right now, I'm just not especially hooked in the way they wanted me to. So overall, guys, my review of The Mick. Let me know what you guys thought of this show overall. Love to hear your thoughts in it. Did you like this? Did you like the cast? Do you like the characters? Are you interested in seeing where it's really going to go? Because I am definitely going to stick with it. I definitely am. I'm going to try to watch a couple episodes. Maybe I'll get... I really don't know if this is a show I could see myself sticking with. I'm going to continue watching it for now, but I don't know if it's going to keep hooking me in. If it doesn't hook me in by 4 episodes, I'm probably just going to bail out of it, but we'll have to see. That's for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for the highly anticipated series premiere of Sherlock, and season series, whatever you want to call it, of Sherlock, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.